In a time before the internet ruled our lives and social media magnified every misstep, Generation X witnessed some of the most shocking and defining scandals that shaped their view of the world. From political upheavals to financial frauds and cultural controversies, the events that unfolded left indelible marks on the collective consciousness of a generation known for its skepticism and resilience. In this video, we dive deep into the scandals that rocked Gen X's world, uncovering how these pivotal moments influenced their distrust in institutions and fueled their drive for authenticity and transparency. Let's rewind the tapes on a time when news broke through television and newspapers and see how Gen X navigated the murky waters of their formative years. 1. The O.J. Simpson Trial, 1994-1995. The trial of the century not only captured viewers with its real-life drama, but also served as a litmus test for America's justice system, scrutinizing racial tensions and celebrity influence. As the country hung on every piece of evidence and testimony, the line between guilt and innocence blurred, leaving everyone asking, did he do it or not? 2. Lewinsky Scandal, 1998. We all knew what happened under the desk of Bill Clinton. The scandal that unfolded in the Oval Office not only gripped the nation, but also led to the impeachment of a sitting president. For Generation X, it was a riveting saga of deception, power, and betrayal that played out across every media outlet, exposing the seedy underbelly of political power. This infamous affair significantly shaped Gen X's views on politics and privacy, igniting heated debates about the intersection of personal conduct and public responsibility. 3. Challenger Space Shuttle Disaster, 1986. Where were you when the Challenger exploded? This question could chill any room filled with Generation Xers. The image of the shuttle breaking apart, just 73 seconds into flight, is etched in the minds of millions who watched in horror, live on TV. The tragedy became a touchstone for an entire generation, symbolizing both the limits and the dangers of reaching beyond our grasp. It's a moment of collective mourning and a stark lesson in humility that reshaped national priorities in space exploration. 4. Tailhook Scandal, 1991. The tailhook scandal erupted when scores of women were assaulted by U.S. Navy and Marine officers during the Tailhook Association Symposium in Las Vegas. This shocking event exposed a culture of widespread sexual misconduct and systemic misogyny within the military, rocking the nation and igniting a fierce debate over the treatment of women in the armed forces. For Generation X, it was a stark reminder of the ongoing struggles for gender equality and cast a long shadow over military integrity, fundamentally altering perceptions of institutional honor and leadership. 5. Exxon Valdez Oil Spill, 1989. The Exxon Valdez disaster was an environmental catastrophe that spilled millions of gallons of crude oil into Alaska's pristine Prince William Sound, killing wildlife and devastating ecosystems for years. This event was a rude awakening for Generation X, catalyzing an environmental consciousness and fueling activism aimed at holding corporations accountable. It also led to significant changes in oil transportation laws and practices, driven by the public outcry and persistent demands for better environmental protections. 6. Watergate Scandal, 1972-1974. The Watergate scandal wasn't just a political scandal, it was a bombshell that exploded the notion of presidential infallibility, leading to President Nixon's resignation. For Generation X, this was a formative introduction to deep-seated political corruption and the power of investigative journalism. The scandal's extensive media coverage and subsequent political fallout irreversibly tarnished their trust in government, cementing a lifelong skepticism of political authority and laying the groundwork for an era of increased media vigilance. 7. Iran-Contra Affair, 1985-1987. The Iran-Contra affair was a convoluted saga of backdoor dealings and illegal arms sales that implicated the Reagan administration in a scandal of international proportions. It revealed a U.S. government secretly trading arms for hostages with Iran and illegally funding Nicaraguan rebels. This debacle deepened Gen X's distrust in government, highlighting the lengths to which political leaders would go to circumvent democratic processes and congressional oversight. 8. 1987 stock market crash, Black Monday. Black Monday, the 1987 stock market crash, was a financial tsunami that wiped out enormous market value in a single day, sending shockwaves through the global economy. For Generation X, already cautious of financial markets, it was a harsh lesson in the volatility of capitalism. The crash underscored the fragility of the financial system and left a lasting impression of the need for greater economic prudence and oversight. 9. Ruby Ridge Standoff, 1992. Ruby Ridge became a defining symbol of excessive government force when federal agents engaged in a deadly siege against Randy Weaver and his family in Idaho. The incident, which resulted in the deaths of Weaver's wife and son, exposed deep flaws in law enforcement tactics and fueled a fiery distrust of federal authority among Generation X, confirming suspicions of governmental overreach and incompetence. 10. Waco Siege, 1993. The Waco Siege was a disastrous and deadly 51-day confrontation between the government and the Branch Davidians that ended in flames and the deaths of 76 people. This event deepened Gen X's growing disillusionment with government, showcasing a horrifying blend of religious fanaticism and catastrophic federal intervention. It was a brutal wake-up call about the dangers of unchecked government power and extremist ideologies. 11. Rodney King, beating and LA riots, 1991-1992. The brutal beating of Rodney King by LAPD officers, caught on tape, and the officer's subsequent acquittal sparked explosive riots in Los Angeles. This was a raw, unfiltered look at racial injustice and police brutality that shook Generation X to its core, igniting a fierce debate on race relations in America and leaving a stark reminder of the deep-seated racial divisions that still plagued the country. 12. Anita Hill, Clarence Thomas hearings, 1991. The Anita Hill-Clarence Thomas hearings ripped open the curtain on sexual harassment in the workplace, broadcasting the gritty details into every American home. For Gen X, this was a crash course in the grim realities of gender politics and power dynamics in professional settings, challenging the status quo and forcing a reluctant national conversation about women's rights and workplace decency. 13. HIV AIDS crisis, 1980s-1990s. The HIV AIDS epidemic emerged as a terrifying and misunderstood health crisis that initially met with widespread indifference from government officials. Generation X watched as thousands suffered due to neglect and misinformation, galvanizing them into action. The crisis exposed stark biases in healthcare and societal attitudes towards the LGBTQ+ community, marking a pivotal moment for activism and awareness. 14. Columbine High School Massacre, 1999. The Columbine High School Massacre was a horrifying wake-up call that shattered any illusions of safety within suburban American schools. For Generation X, particularly those who were parents, the massacre was a brutal realization of the growing epidemic of gun violence in schools. It sparked a fierce debate over gun control laws, mental health issues, and the culture of violence in America. Do you remember these events? What scandals did we miss? If you're Gen X, subscribe to our channel and like the video to join the conversation and share your memories.